Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To some of you, and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. Again, in part one, I pretty much told you about MyNonLeatherLife, a YouTuber who put videos out years ago, and the attention to her drawn for me by another YouTuber called Mindful Seductions. And in it, she tells guys certain things, but she still puts the onus on guys to know exactly what the hell she sits up and tells us that she would not dare tell men in person, in real life, because of the power that it gives men, pretty much admitting to a conspiracy of silence. Now, the only reason that it's not an admission of a conspiracy is because she didn't say this is something that all women do, but she gave the psychology behind women that do this. And I've stated before that what they need to come out and do is pretty much say, well, we set this up, we rigged this game from the very beginning anyway, and then on top of us rigging this game, let it be known that you, while we rigged this game, and that we are the reasons that you don't know certain things, it cannot be your fault. And so instead of sitting up and blaming you for not figuring out mysteries, and blaming you for detective work that was never your job to do, and which we cannot reasonably expect you to just figure out, we're going to have to blame ourselves because we have mouths and we talk about every goddamn thucking thing, and no, I didn't curse under the sun except what the hell we really want from men, and that to which we're ready to actually respond positively and favorably to the men. We have sat up and just kept things a secret and then blamed you, when we know you're not psychic, because if you were, we'd have been in a flux. They understand this. I've stated that what they need to say to us is, we're the mystery and it's not your fault. And that we will talk about any and everything except that which really counts when it counts, just to keep your asses in the dark. And so therefore, you're not to be blamed for anything. There is no part of this that could have turned out any differently for almost any of you, because there's no way that we would have ever been forthcoming with the information that you need. And we pretty much sat back and waited on you guys to figure out exactly what we won't tell you. We pretty much sat back and waited on you guys to become mind readers, and blamed you when you didn't. And we will continue to do that. And the major difference in between the traditional woman and the Westernesha is that the traditional woman won't necessarily blame you for not reading her mind, whereas the Westernesha will blame you because of what you don't just instinctively know. She's looking for you to be a beast and an animal on whom she can call the police, or at the very least HR at any time. She's looking and waiting on that, whereas the traditional woman at least fucks the shuck up and stays silent, and therefore doesn't blame you for not figuring it out, because that tells you right then and there it's a conspiracy. And I'm not going to tell you now even what is the best reaction for free. I'm going to tell you that only on the Jet Black Air Lounge. I've already uploaded it, and it's entitled Sadia Khan's Khan. That's there on the Jet Black Air Lounge. And it's only for first class even. I'm not even making that available for business class. Nope, first class. Go ahead and cough up the 10. You want to cancel after that? Be my guest. But cough up that 10 in the beginning. In this one, I wanted to tell you that the only valuable thing that the Westernesha can pretty much say, well, I already gave you part one. There are two things I'm going to cover in this series. I don't expect there to be a part three. And that's because the parts 3 and 4 I've already said. That they set this up and that it is not our fault. Part 2 of this is about a keystone confession. In part 2, should know that the confession, well, we pretty much have a confession. And it is one sentence. And I'm not going to let you know what the sentence is. You have to go in and join the Jet Black Air Lounge and go to confession number 10, also called the keystone or the capstone confession. But what I am going to tell you is that that confession pretty much tells you that they, while we men are picking women based on how much we love them as human beings with their good points and their flaws, that by the same token, they are picking us based on their own flaws only. They're not even picking us based on anything to do with our pluses per se, or rather what they, not the pluses that they claim are pluses. They're picking us not only based on very superficial pluses or very financial pluses, which are also superficial. They're picking us also based on what is wrong with them. They're picking us based on that. They're picking us based on the things that we say we don't want them to bring are the very things they have to have in order to come and choose us in many cases. This is a hell of a confession for them to make, and they're not making it. They're not coming out and telling us, well, we actually choose based on what we know is wrong with us. As more so than what's right with you, we are choosing based on what we know is wrong with us. So I'm going to leave it to you to log in there to see exactly what it means, because that one sentence in confession number 10 is applicable beyond the simple single context of its literal meaning. It goes into everything. But it is one thing you will understand, because it involves one of the liabilities of the modern Westernesha, about which we talk the most, about which not only African American men are discussing, but also a liability that more and more non-black men in the West are beginning to discuss. And it is something that is happening even in China, the difference being that in China, it is happening in the rural areas where the men outnumber the women, whereas in the cities, when the women still outnumber the men, it's not quite the same. But in order to really know, in order to really learn, you're going to have to go ahead and check in there. I mean, to really make it all come together. But I can tell you right now, easily, that the confessions that they need can really be summed up by one confession, which is that they are choosing us, you and me, the normal men in the audience, choosing us based on what's wrong. We tend to say, well, we don't like the reachback, because what does it take for them to come to the reachback? And that is exactly what it is that we need to start realizing. We're saying it ourselves. What does it take for them to reach back? Hold up. That means they wouldn't reach back without these liabilities and these weights. Without these drawbacks, they wouldn't reach back. That right there is something some of us have hinted at. When you see this confession, you're going to realize that some of us have hinted at this before. White, black, and everything in between. Some in the Western manosphere in general have hinted at this before, but it has not been discussed enough. And that's how you know this is insulting as hell, and it is intentional. Because these ladies will sit up here and say that. Minnie F. Baby has talked about it. You must keep in mind that and shout out to AC for calling it the reachback and giving us terms that we can use to discuss this more easily. But you must understand that that's what it's because of the drawbacks they pick you. And that's how you know this is not evolutionary biology or evolutionary psychology or some other really deep subconscious shit they can't help. It's subconscious when they're young. When they get older and they start thinking, they know what the F it is. And it's conscious and they just keep doing it. And it's time for them to come out and say that too as well. See, part 2 also is about what it is that traditional women are going to have to admit to. And that's going to be what even good women in the West are going to have to admit to, that both of them have sat back and relied on the hyper-availability, whether it is in terms of the percentage of which women are this way, or just the fact that the few of them are more available to more men. And whatever it is that increases your average man's chances of meeting a bad woman and lowers your chances of meeting a good woman, you must understand that the traditional women abroad and the traditional women in the West, or the nice women, the ones that don't really hate you, may even like you, have also sat back and tried to capitalize on the hyper-availability of the wicked witches of the West. They have done this too, and it has backfired on them as well. So when you see these women crying, it's both types that are crying. Because men are learning to not approach, as we should. Both kinds are crying at this point, and I want you to understand why the hell they're crying. The good ones are crying because they've been duped by the bad ones into sitting back and not shooting their shot so that the bad ones wouldn't have this kind of competition. This way, you and I, most men, would know we would know maybe 2 or 3 experiences with women, but one of them would have been kept away from us successfully. We would know what it's like for women to show interest, but it's not sincere. We would not know that it's not sincere because we would not know what it's like for them to show a sincere interest. We could sit down and reason it out, learn from those who have seen it, but most of us would not have that experience. Therefore, when women show an insincere interest so they can use us, we wouldn't know the difference. This was by design. The hyenas wanted it that way. That's why they told the lionesses, sit back. Girl, you too good to be out here shooting your shot. Look at you. That's what they were saying. And they fell for it. The potential lionesses, the prospective lionesses fell for it. And they failed to be lionesses because lionesses still have to pursue the buffalo they want to eat. You're not the male lion. They want to do all of the protecting and providing. You are also the buffalo that they need to consume. It's either you get out there and get that buffalo, or you appeal to the man that can, the male that can bring down that buffalo. This is what you need to consume. You are going to be fighting over small gazelles and antelope until you can bring down more to consume. And that's going to be where you're either going to have to form major numbers and coalitions, or you're going to have to get the help of a male. By yourselves, without a male's help and the right cooperation, you can bring down a wildebeest. But the numbers that it takes for you to bring them down are the numbers that cannot possibly feed to full satisfaction off of that same prey. But to bring down a prey that can satisfy the stomachs of all of you and the cubs, you're going to need some help from a male, and you're probably going to have to do it on the male's terms, which are, we're going to do this at night when they can't see us. The same mane that protects me from their retaliatory injuries is the mane that they're going to see coming in the daytime, so we're doing it at night. You don't tell me to get out there in the daytime. That's hyena talk. If you are a real male, you'll get your ass out there in that daytime and bring it down so we can sit back and watch you do it and get wet. No, they'll see me coming and they'll prepare. Are you just trying to see a fight, or are you trying to get a meal? Which one is it? You see, the line between the hyenas and lionesses is real, but it's too thin and it's too curvy. It's not a straight and broad line. It's a thin and curved line. And it is in part 2 of the only valuable thing that the Westernesha can tell us really is not just the Westernesha. See, the Westernesha, the traditional woman in the West and the traditional woman abroad are all going to have to admit to one thing, and that is that they have sat back and tried to capitalize on the hyper-availability of the Westernesha, the wicked witch of the West, the hyena, the one that wants to use, the gold digger, the misandrist. The aggressive misanders, not even the ones that leave you alone. If you fuck the shuck up, don't say nothing. No, the ones that, because they're misanders, they try to set you up for robbery, either in a divorce court or elsewhere. Whether it's Gabriella Zuniga or an OnlyFans model like her, looking for somebody else, or Brittany Renner, or the Ant-Man's baby mama. Those women are out there. They're shooting their shots. That's how they get these men. So you can either experience being invisible to these women, being openly and honest, openly and obviously sought out to be used by them without any evidence of even fake affection, i.e. they tell you, no, you are good for this, that, and the other, and that's it. Or you can have the experience of them showing you fake affection, but the traditional well-meaning women have been duped into not showing genuine affection when they have it for the men for whom they have it, to the men for whom they have it. And it's worked on them too. Now they're sitting back lonely because they aged out. And these guys, some of the guys that have had these experiences sitting up and saying, well, I mean, she didn't really like me, but hell, this woman over here was able to approach me. So now you got these so-called good women that might actually want me and they can't say nothing? Well, that just means that women in general are the problem. If they really like you, they can't shoot the shot. But if they want to use you, they come out after you. That's why it is that women who are box vendors, no matter what they were like before they got low enough to start vending the box, they come after you. They will stop you. They will say something to you on the street. You looking for a date? That'll be the same chick that back in middle school would say, I don't never approach men. Those women said the same thing in middle school as women that are now in their 30s and actually don't approach men and are lonely because of it. And their 40s and 50s because of it. They said the same thing back in middle school, even high school. But when they get low enough to start vending that box, you don't hear about box vendors who sit back and wait on the clients, the Johns, so to speak, the tricks to come to them. And so that whole dynamic now needs to be challenged here, elsewhere, everywhere. Why should we make approaches? China's a traditional society, but they're going through with their own upheaval. Got videos about the simp economy crashing because the men are simply saying, I'm not buying flowers for nobody. Buy flowers and give them to some lady that ain't thinking about me so she can say, ooh, I got flowers. Man, buck that bitch. Never mind. Flowers are sitting up just rotting because ain't nobody buying them. They were going to decay and wither away anyway, but now they're doing so without the money that tends to come with them. And the women are upset. The men are like, oh, we saved money. The women are sitting up saying, I'm not getting any flowers. Maybe we should send money to each other and send each other flowers. That's a traditional society going through its own gender upheaval. So, hey, you know what? Why sit up and say, well, I'm in a traditional environment, so maybe I should make the approach? No, shuck that fit. Now, with that being said, I hope this helps and thank you for listening. And I'm going to quote with something that BMT has quoted one of his friends to have said. In this world, when something of any value is free, you are then the product for sale. And we've set up and said, yeah, but the women aren't free. No, dummy, you've been free. For something that was free in this whole human mating market at this point. That something that was free and of value has been you. You've been for sale, but you're the one that's had to pay the price. One of the biggest dupes of all time. And I'm not going to sit up and say the traditional societies have really been any better about that. I'm not going to do that. Because even in traditional societies, you take that woman that's alone and old, she's vulnerable. And she'll tell you that. She'll shoot her shot. I hope that what I've said is a benefit. Thanks for listening. As always, black heart, black mind, black out. Assalamu alaikum, black heterosexual, non-select male power, because they don't like in a black patriarchy until extinction of Judgment Day. And shouts out to Malika Mebani for the support and for Ask Jock for the encouragement and for coming through in the Cash App as often as you have. Y'all go to the Jet Black Air Lounge. Listen to what I said about Saadia Khan's Khan, and also go check out Confession number 10, the Capstone Confession. It's been on there for more than a year. It will explain everything. Thank you for flying with us again here on Jet Black Air, where the phrase jet black is also a verb. Keep jetting black with us till the wings and the wheels fall off. Gender justice forever.